I'm sorry to say this, but you're misusing framer effects. You see, you've been given a tool that can be used for building amazing websites without any coding in a super effortless way. Adding appear effects and scroll animations are literally just a single click. But just because something is easy, it doesn't mean you need to use it. I've been seeing so many framer sites packed with scroll animations, appear effects, and text effects on every single layer. And the problem is that they're not only making a site that feels messy and overwhelming, but also significantly reducing the site's performance. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use effects and animations in Framer with intention to make sure when using them you're not taking away, but adding to your site's experience. My name is Nandi, this is Framer University, and let's get started. In this video, I'm going to make sure to talk about two things. First is going to be the issue, like overusing effects and why is it bad, and then the solution, what we can do instead, how we can use effects with intention. So first of all, let's quickly take a look at a bad example, a site that overuses effects. As you can see, as I scroll down, everything is moving, everything is animated, texts are like coming in with these crazy blur effects, and you can see that the site is not only messy and overwhelming because everything moves, but also really laggy. Like if I scroll fast, you can see that some elements are just not loading in time, which is mainly because of these blur effects, by the way. So if you're using many like blur stuff effects and just regular blur on the site, it's gonna not be really cool for performance. So yeah, this is a bad example, but now let's just see how we can, turn this into something that is a little bit more tasteful and looks a little bit better, has a little bit better experience. So yeah, let's take a look at that now. So what we have to do is we have to think about effects as a way to add moments of delight to our web page, to highlight specific elements, or yeah, basically just tell a story. We can do this really easily by adding subtle effects to elements. But it's really important that if we are animating everything, then they are losing their strength. They are not going to have weight. To make sure that effects really serve their purpose and they really highlight things, we have to make sure that not everything is highlighted, because if we highlight everything, we also end up highlighting nothing. So what I usually do is, instead of animating everything individually, I group elements into these larger groups. Actually, I don't even have to group them because they are, by default, they are like, structured like this usually. So I'm just not applying the effects to these individual layers, but I'm applying the effects to these larger blocks. So for example, this here has an effect. This block also has an effect here, and then I think those are the two like title blocks that have an effect. And usually these are just really subtle like appear effects, scroll animations. You can see it on the right panel. Effect scroll animation is added. It's triggered when the layer comes into view, and it's a really subtle, just comes in from the bottom. You can see opacity is 0, offset is 50. It just comes in from there. It's really like a subtle movement. As you can see, time 0.6, and it has a little delay. And you can see it looks really cool. So as I scroll down, it just nicely appears, nothing too crazy. And not everything is like animated, not everything moves. Certain elements move in, come in with a little effect, but that's it. Of course, on the hero, it's okay to have like a staggered appear effect. That's something that you can have. But as you start scrolling down, you don't really want to see like everything moving and stuff like that. Now, on top of these more like subtle effects on these groups, we can of course have more intense effects, more intense animations, because those are going to be the elements that we want to like highlight or bring to the front a little bit more, or just grab more attention with them or put more emphasis on them. So on those, of course, we're going to have a little bit more of an intense effect. And now, since we're not having the same intensity on all of the effects, it's going to actually have contrast. So we're going to see like, oh, that had a little bit different effect. These were like coming in from the sides. It looks pretty cool, and it just highlights these cards, yeah, a little bit more. So if you have some information here that you want to pay a little bit more attention to, or it just makes sense for some reason to add a more intense effect to these, you can of course do that. But it's really important that even if you have these more intense effects, do not have more than one or two of these on one page. Because if you have that, then they just start again losing their strength because you're just overusing them. So now everything is just kind of starting to become that more intense thing. So you cannot really have that same contrast that you have when you have like 90% subtle and 10% intense. So again, just to wrap up, just because you have a tool, Framer, that allows you to create websites, crazy effects, crazy scroll animations, that doesn't mean that you have to add these effects and scroll animations to every single one of your layers. Think about it as a tool that you can use, but it's not a must. So, there are sites that are not animated at all. In fact, Framer University, let me just show you to the homepage. It was not animated by default, so I wasn't animating it whatsoever, but then I added some subtle animations. This was here or originally, this like movement on the carousel or like these images, but what I added later was these appear effects on these titles. And it's so subtle that you might not even notice as I scroll here. But yeah, as you can see, it's not like crazy. Not everything is like moving and yeah, it's just subtle. Of course, I have like a video in the background, but yeah, that's a different story. Keep your effects intentional. Make sure to use them with intention. So yeah, they just add to your website instead of taking away from it. If you're looking for more Framer stuff, Framer resources, tutorials, lessons, components, resources, remixes, then make sure to check out Framer University, which has a bunch of those. Also, leave your comment if you have any questions. I'm gonna make sure to do my best to answer you guys. And yeah, that's it for this video. Make sure to like it, subscribe for more, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.